My stepmother demanded my $312,000 inheritance at father's funeral. I placed one folder on the table. Forged checks. Her face went white. March 15, 2026, 2:47 in the afternoon. My family's dining room on Southwest Oak Street in Portland smelled like chrysanthemums and my father's favorite Colombian coffee, the coffee he would never drink again. The pallbearers had left 43 minutes earlier. My father, Robert Chen, was in the ground at Gethsemane Cemetery, 11 miles east. 24 relatives scattered through the house now, cousins picking at untouched sandwiches, aunts whispering in clusters, my stepmother Patricia moving through the rooms like she already owned them, which she'd been working to do for exactly 11 years. I felt her presence before I saw her. Patricia Whitmore, 61, manicured, always smiling. She leaned toward me at the edge of the dining table, and her perfume was too heavy for the moment. "You look exhausted, Sarah," she said softly. Just me and her. "These things take it out of you." They do. "Your father wanted stability." She was still smiling. "For the estate, for the business. He always told me he didn't think you were equipped for that kind of responsibility. Business decisions, money management. You were always the emotional one." I kept my hands flat on the table. I've spent 14 years with the FBI's Major Crimes Division, trained to spot patterns, financial schemes, lies told in microseconds, trained to watch faces the way other people watch animals. But I'd missed the pattern happening inside my own home. My name is Sarah Chen, 38, Special Agent, Major Crimes, Federal Bureau of Investigation. 14 years at the Bureau, and my stepmother had just told me I wasn't equipped to handle money. When Patricia married my father in 2015, he was vulnerable. My mother had died 5 years earlier. Sudden, an aneurysm on a Tuesday. The business, Chen Import Solutions, had been running steady for 32 years. He'd built it from nothing. We were comfortable, not wealthy, comfortable. Within 2 years, something shifted. Patricia suggested hiring a business consultant, a man named Devin Stone. She said the business needed modernization, better accounting systems, professional guidance. My father agreed. He was still grieving. He wanted to trust someone. He wanted to not be alone. The first invoice came in 2016, $8,200 for strategic consulting. He signed it without reading it closely. Then another, $9,400. Then $14,600. By 2017, the withdrawals became systematic. $18,950, $16,400 monthly, $19,200. Wire transfers I'd never questioned. Invoices my father never actually signed. Patricia signed them, in his name, over and over and over. 11 years, $312,000. By late 2023, my father finally said it out loud. We might have to sell the house. In February 2026, his doctor confirmed what he already knew. Stage 4 pancreatic cancer. 6 to 9 months, maybe less. I took a leave of absence from the bureau and moved home. It was an afternoon in early March, his hands shaking from pain medication, his voice thin like paper, when he handed me a folder of bank statements. "Sarah," he whispered, "something's not right. Patricia keeps telling me I'm paranoid, that I don't understand business anymore, that I'm losing my mind." I looked at those statements the way I've looked at evidence 1,000 times before, and I saw it. The pattern. Clean, methodical, consistent. My stepmother hadn't just stolen his money, she was still stealing it, and she was planning something bigger. She was planning to take everything the moment he died. 8 weeks. That's how long I spent with those bank statements spread across my kitchen table in the early hours before my father woke up. Cross-referencing every transaction, verifying patterns, calling banks with pretexts, checking filing databases for a company that didn't exist. Devon Stone Strategic Solutions. No tax filings, no registered business address, no Delaware corporation records matching the name, only invoices bearing my father's forged signature. Only wire transfers flowing to an LLC registered in Delaware with one account holder listed, Patricia Whitmore. By March 3, 2026, I'd built the picture in full. Every withdrawal, every fabricated invoice, every month where my father's business was being drained while Patricia told him he was losing his mind. I sat at my kitchen table at 4 in the morning and made the decision that would end everything. I called my supervisor. Special Agent Marcus Webb picked up his office line at 8:15. We'd worked together for 6 years. Major crimes, financial homicides. He knew how I worked. Marcus, I need to brief you on something personal, and then I need authorization. My office, 20 minutes. 4 days later, on March 11th, Patricia found me in the garage. My father was upstairs sleeping. She'd been waiting for this moment. I could see it in her posture. "Sarah," she said, her voice sweet and poisonous. "I'm noticing you've been very involved in your father's business finances. He's asked me to manage the estate planning, and I think it's best if we leave these matters to people who understand them." I didn't move. "I'm helping Dad organize things so he doesn't have to worry." "Well, I'm glad you understand your limitations," she smiled. The smile never reached her eyes. "Estate management requires expertise you simply don't possess." "I might surprise you," I said quietly. Her smile turned predatory. She stepped closer. "I don't think so, but we'll see, won't we? After the funeral." After the funeral. When my father was in the ground, when his voice couldn't contradict her version of events, when she could lock down the estate, liquidate assets, move money to offshore accounts, and disappear with whatever remained. I understood then what I'd been missing. Patricia wasn't just a thief. She was planning probate fraud. She was going to forge my father's will. I walked into Marcus Webb's office the next afternoon and laid out every piece of evidence I'd compiled. Marcus was 58, 21 years with the Bureau, former forensics, former undercover work in organized crime. He didn't minimize this. He didn't suggest I handle it privately. He authorized a full federal investigation. "This is grand larceny," Marcus said, his eyes moving methodically through my documentation. "Potentially bank fraud, wire fraud, forgery, and she's still doing it, isn't she?" "As of February 28th, I confirmed. A $4,200 withdrawal cleared 4 days ago." He stood and extended his hand. "You're thinking like an agent right now. That's exactly what we need. I'm assigning Elena Vasquez from Financial Crimes, 16 years experience. She specializes in embezzlement from family businesses. She'll help us build a case that holds up in federal court." Elena came on board immediately. She was 54, calm, methodical. She didn't speak more than necessary. She just worked. For 8 months, we'd been collecting evidence in parallel while my father declined. Bank statements, wire transfer records, the fake consulting LLC paperwork, photographs of Patricia's forged signatures on company checks, her handwriting comparison with legitimate signatures she'd left on other documents. The evidence folder grew thicker, my father grew weaker, and Patricia grew bolder. By March 14th, the night before the funeral, I knew something she didn't. We had everything, and she was running out of time. Elena Vasquez arrived at the task force office on March 4. 54 years old. 16 years tracing embezzlement rings through financial institutions and family businesses. She had the kind of eyes that saw numbers the way other people saw faces. I walked her through the case file that morning. Bank statements, wire transfers, forged invoices, tax records that didn't match legitimate business expenses. By the time I finished, Elena was already pulling up high-resolution scans of Patricia's signatures on company checks. "The forgeries are consistent," she said quietly. Same hand, same pressure, same angle, same everything. Your stepmother isn't even trying to vary her approach because she doesn't think anyone's watching. She's arrogant. That's actually good for us. Over the next 48 hours, Elena and I assembled the documentation fortress. 7 forged checks with Patricia's handwriting disguised as my father's signature. $312,000 in wire transfer documentation flowing from company accounts into the fake LLC. Bank statements showing money diverted directly into Patricia's personal savings account. Delaware business filings with Patricia listed as beneficial owner of the Shell Corporation. Phone records proving the Devon Stone consulting line had been rerouted to Patricia's personal cell phone from 2016 to 2023. 11 years of tax records with no matching legitimate business expenses. Federal tax returns filed under the fraudulent consulting company name. Every piece locked into place. But on March 14th, the day before the funeral, Elena found something that changed everything. She was reviewing Patricia's Gmail account, subpoenaed that morning. When she found a draft email, she called me immediately. Not sent, just saved. Dated February 28, 2026. The subject line, Expedited Sale, S. West Oak Street Estate. Sarah, you need to read this, Elena said. Her voice was different. The email was addressed to a commercial real estate broker in Portland. Patricia had written something that made my hands go cold. I will have clear title to the property after probate closes, estimated 6 to 8 weeks. Estate valued at approximately $1.2 million. I'm prepared to sell at 95% fair market value to expedite the transaction. But that wasn't the smoking gun. The attachment was. Patricia had drafted an entire document, titled Estate Planning Memo for Robert Chen. She'd forged not just his signature, she'd forged his entire will. Sole beneficiary, everything to Patricia. She'd forged the attorney's signatures, the notary signatures, all of it. My father's actual will, drafted 17 years ago before Patricia existed in our lives, left everything to me. She was planning to commit grand larceny inside the probate court itself. This is federal, Elena said. Wire fraud, bank fraud, forgery of legal documents, conspiracy? This is 10 years minimum. I brought the evidence to Marcus that afternoon. We move now, Marcus said. His voice was steel. We get an indictment before the funeral service ends, before she can move anything, before she can claim sudden awareness of procedures. That morning, I called Judge Patricia Hernandez. We'd worked together on 3 prior cases involving financial crimes. I explained the situation. Documented embezzlement, forged documents, draft probate fraud, clear and present danger to estate assets. She signed an emergency warrant for seizure of Patricia's laptop, phone, and all financial records. At 2:04 p.m. on March 15th, while the funeral reception was being set up in my family's dining room, federal agents from the Portland field office executed the warrant. They secured her devices. They secured her financial records. They took her into custody for questioning at 2:45 p.m. 2 minutes before the reception officially began. She had no idea what was coming. No idea that Elena had seen her every transaction. No idea that Marcus had authorized a federal case. No idea that her arrogance had left a trail of forged signatures and draft emails that proved everything. At 2:47 p.m., Patricia leaned toward me at the dining table in my family's home, and she made her final mistake. I placed one folder on the dining table in front of Patricia. Inside were 3 items: printed, laminated, absolute. The first was a photograph of a bank statement from January 2023, Patricia's handwriting visible in the margin. The second was a high-resolution scan of one of the forged checks, Patricia's signature beside my father's forged name. The third was a printout of the draft email to the real estate broker. Timestamp clear. February 28, 2026, 11:04 a.m. Above the documents, in bold 48-point font, FBI Evidence Memo. Federal Investigation Authorization Number FI 2026-0348, dated March 3, 2026. Patricia's face went white. Not pale, white. All color drained like someone had opened a valve. Her hand reached for the folder, then stopped. Her mouth opened, closed, opened again. Around us, relatives had begun to notice. The room had gone quiet in that way it does when something terrible is about to happen. "What is this?" Patricia whispered. "The truth," I said quietly. 8 weeks of federal investigation. You forged my father's signature on company checks. You created a fake consulting firm. You embezzled $312,000 from his business. You planned to sell his house the moment he died. You forged his will. Her hand went to her mouth. No, no, no. Federal agents are finishing a warrant execution at this residence, I continued, my voice steady the way I'd been trained. Your laptop, phone, and all financial records are being seized. You're being read your rights in 15 minutes. She stood abruptly. One of my cousins gasped. Another relative walked out of the room, suddenly understanding what they were witnessing. Patricia's voice became shaky. Your father knew about this. We discussed the business expenses. He approved. My father died knowing you stole from him for 11 years, I said. He was ashamed. He was afraid. In his final weeks, he finally trusted me enough to show me what you'd done. I want a lawyer, Patricia said immediately. She straightened her cardigan, lifted her chin, tried to regain some dignity that was already gone. You'll be given the opportunity to contact legal counsel when you arrive at the field office, I said. 2 federal agents entered through the back door at 3:02 p.m. Patricia was read her rights. She was escorted to a bureau vehicle. By 3:45 p.m., she was in an interrogation room at the Portland field office, asking for a public defender. The federal indictment came down on March 22, 2026. 7 counts of wire fraud, 3 counts of bank fraud, 4 counts of forgery of financial instruments, 2 counts of conspiracy. Minimum 15 years if convicted on all counts. She pleaded guilty to 5 counts in July 2026. Her sentencing was scheduled for September 15th. The prosecution recommended 12 years in federal prison. The estate went to probate cleanly. By June 2026, I'd received the house, the business assets, and $312,000 recovered from Patricia's seized bank accounts. The business was sold to a local Portland importing consortium, the kind of steady, ethical operation my father had built over 32 years. Patricia's guilty plea wasn't redemption. It wasn't a moment of clarity or contrition. It was simple arithmetic. The evidence was overwhelming. Her lawyers told her a trial would be worse. She entered the federal prison system in October without a statement to the press, without an apology, without acknowledgement of what she'd done. 6 months later, I'm still at the Portland field office, major crimes. The cases haven't stopped. But on my desk sits a single photograph. 1998. My father and me, standing in front of Chen Import Solutions' first warehouse. I'm 20 years old. He has his arm around my shoulder. We're both smiling. Sometimes when I'm reviewing fraud cases, I look at that photograph and think about what my father didn't live to see. His good name cleared, his business restored, his daughter proving that integrity and evidence matter more than quick solutions or comfortable lies. But in some way, he knew. In those final weeks, when he handed me that folder with trembling hands, he was trusting me. He was saying, "I believe you can see what I couldn't see. I believe you can do what needs to be done." Patricia Whitmore will spend her 60s and 70s in a federal prison, contemplating the moment she leaned toward an FBI agent at a funeral reception and whispered the last free words she would ever speak. And my father's memory is finally at peace.